convention center, and this was years ago, and that's where the 500 came in. And there were some, RPP was put in without petitions because of recognizing that. And I also believe that the first resident only was in that area because of the convention center. So it was looked at, this was years ago. It was actually probably before.
Just to clarify, definition of major traffic generator is on page 16.
Okay. So just I guess on the east side, there was no consideration. On the west side, there might.
It was, yeah, I mean, it was brought up, because, yeah. Anyway,
I
we
think
had
there
some
was
more questions,
one question
comments.
here and one there.
Yes, Noah?
So thanks for this. I spent a lot of time on regulations. I'll have some comments. These are generally pretty good. I guess my concern is in communication, both in how you all are communicating this change to us and how we can communicate it to our residents. I don't quite understand the why. And in the fact sheet, it doesn't state in bold letters at the top, what's the problem we're trying to solve. And I think I would have a hard time explaining to my residents what the problem is we're trying to solve. So that's a question I have for each of you, is to be able to articulate
Why?
why. And to put out fact sheets and marketing materials that clearly say, here's a problem that we're going to fix with these regulations. So if you want to articulate that now, right now, we have to listen.
Well, that's what I tried to start with, is that we always, yeah. I mean, the problem that we are trying to solve is the increasing demand for resident only without any kind of a process, without any kind of an acknowledgement. We know on our part that it is not going to help, like the Kennedy Street, it's not going to help there. But people, when they come in, they say, I want resident only, because they really think it's the 6 of us who live on the same block. And it's not. You're competing with those of you who have seen the data we've pulled on the number of vehicles registered in your neighborhood and the number of parking spaces. Anyway, so we really have been pushed by a lot of people to continue to roll out RPP. We don't like a resident only. And we really prefer to be more data-driven and more policy-based in what we do. And we had not been, quite frankly, which is why we're also putting into regs how we extend hours. So it's not just me walking in and saying, I got a problem, change it.
That's great. So it sounds like the intent is to standardize both the process by which the city assigns parking restrictions.
Correct.
And what those restrictions are in a particular geographic area, right? So that there is some expectation, some reasonable expectation for parkers of what the restrictions are in a particular area, because, right? So to not just do one-off blocks anymore, to not just do, you know, because there was a petition, but indeed based on these regs, right? But indeed to say in ANC 2B, this shall be the policy. So is that's my read of the regs. Is that your intent?
Sure. Yep, correct.
So then I have some specific questions as well, if I may. So to Mike's question a little bit, we have in my ANC and others, a lot of these one-offs already. So let's say these regs are adopted and our ANC sends you a resolution and it goes through and we now have 50% RPP or whatever on TV. What happens to all the current red signs?
They'd stay.
They would stay.
Right.
So everything.
They're only on half. Again, we're getting fixated on the 50%. It's half of every block.
So
Right now,
yes.
as far as I know, there should not be any blocks that have resident only on both sides.
But the times are different, right? So
The resident only times are different?
yes, by block.
Right.
Right.
Right. So my question is, are we essentially, you know, if we send you a resolution and it's accepted, are we hitting the reset button for the entire ANC?
For the times.
If that's the resolution, I think that we would, in respect of the resolution, is that we're saying we'd leave the signs. Because it's hard for us to go in and say we take them out.
So you would grandfather in,
Right.
the default would be to grandfather in what exists already.
Right, but right now, the proposed rulemaking, the times, the end time is 8:30 p.m. for resident only.
For the standard, yeah.
For the standard.
All of Ward 1 is on midnight. I'm sorry?
No, in the proposed rulemaking, the end time for resident only is proposed as 8:30 p.m. So
The
for
ballpark
proposed rulemaking.
has it later. The ballparks
Right.
is special.
But even places like along where the Giant at 14th and Park Road, it's to midnight.
Correct, but.
No, I don't think it is. I live right near there.
I mean, what I'm saying is that you can't, on the resident-only side.
Right.
You can't park there only like midnight to 7 a.m. except for Sunday or something.
Now, I'll
I've
have to
seen
go
those
back and
things.
check that, but the
But why, I guess
Ward
my
1
question,
is
why wouldn't
only
you
till
standardize?
8:30.
Why wouldn't you standardize?
So you're saying that
And there we go.
you start standardizing them once the regulations went into effect?
No,
If that's the
I'm saying
intent, I mean,
grandfather.
again, we're looking for comments on it. I personally think but I'm a policy person, I think it does make sense to have them all the same. But I think that I'm guessing in some cases, the intent was because there's if you look at P Street, for example, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there, and maybe it's to protect the blocks around. But I've been bedeviled. I try never to drive just because parking is so annoying, but buses are good. But it is very hard to be able to park and go and visit, run into a bike shop or, get a bite to eat. I mean, even those of us who live in the city have experienced how hard the resident only can be, and the extended hours are even worse.
Those are the sort of comments that, if you think that. we
I'll be
should-
writing them in, and
I wish I could too.
yeah, no.
All right,
Yes, ma'am,
Nicole,
in the back.
and then.
Well, no, I think this one in the back has been
Go ahead.
patiently waiting.
Mine's probably quick.
Okay.
So, also if I'm reading further on pages 10, 11, it looks like, similar to how you just said, Word 4 had sort of a opt-out if you want, but otherwise you're gonna have enhanced
Ward
RPP.
Ward
You're doing
one.
this now for Ward 1 too? Oh, this is the same as,
This is Ward
That's
1.
Ward
oh,
one.
that's what it was before then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's not really changing.
yeah, no. The enhanced residential permanent parking program, that section did not change.
Okay.
Yeah, the only sections that changed, substantive change, with modifications to the days and hours and resident only. There were some administrative changes that the FAQ document discusses, but those were mostly administrative changes, just to clarify and some editorial changes.
But if you look at the 50%, like in the ERPP, page 10 at the bottom, 50% of available parking spaces of each residential block as determined by the director shall be. And that is, so it's 50% on a block, half of half. It's not 50% in the whole.
I think you had a question, and then,
I think I told her about what one on Colorado, there is
The
the both sides restricted,
What's the question?
no, he had a side issue.
and that's still being,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
and
This
Ward
is-
1 on Colorado Road, both sides are zone 1 parking.
Resident
We can
only.
talk,
That's the-
that, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell me those
Yeah,
places.
we
yeah, we
need
can
to
talk
fix that
offline
position.
to
That
fix
shouldn't
that.
be,
I think you had a question, and then,
Yeah, so my question is, I could see this proposal being beneficial, for, single member districts or ANCs that have a lot of commercial businesses in protecting parking. But my biggest concern for my single member district is that we're absorbing the fact that the Nats do not have enough parking, and then we're facing another stadium. So once we have a build out in Southwest, there will be no parking, and we will not be able to absorb the slack for the lack of stadium parking. So I'm trying to figure out how is this beneficial for my SMB when our competition right now are visitors and trying to have parking and they're just sitting there.
Nats visitors, right? So,
Nats visitors.
so the stadium is a major traffic generator, right?
Yeah, and
So-
visitor parking permit abuse, because you have people that don't need them, sometimes they sell them.
All right,
And
so
so-
let's talk about the two different, yeah, so let's, so there's resident only, which this actually benefits your SMD as well because Nats is a major traffic generator, so when you
They
consider-
already have, that area already has the most restrictive parking.
So
I'm
your
not-
question
This is not
is-
gonna do much for you.
Your question is visitor
You
parking
already
permit.
have the highest of the protections.
But it's not working.
Well, that's what it says.
That
The
might be a
effect, I won't
different
say
topic,
It's
so
not
that's-
working. the effect is what's happening because we work in your area.
Yes, we do.
So, again, when we're talking about the intra-ward community, there are Ward 6 residents who work in our area and know that they can go park. So it's hard to differentiate with resident only because it's a ward base.
It's also who will
ward
go to baseball games.
And baseball games,
park.
and if I know I can go down Nat Stadium,
Yep.
I have a Ward 6 sticker.
So your
Right.
specific issue is introvert commute.
But it's
Everyone
not so
who-
much, what I'm saying,
Yeah.
we all understand introvert commute. There's nothing we can do about it given the current system. Is there any way we can contemplate in this regulation something about VPP abuse for commuters? I get your household employee, your, you somehow your family, but we have, everyone who's an intro-ward commuter, and additionally, they have like an extra ticket they can
Right.
give to a colleague. And so we see all of 200 I Street surrounded by people with VPPs.
In government
Yeah.
workers and government cars, and you getting out of your car from Maryland and you have a few stickers.
Can I ask a question? Are these the DDOT stickers or MPD stickers?
It's a DDOT.
So annual passes.
It's
So
a
I
s-
guess the question is there any vehicle in this process to include text specifying the intended use of VPP? Because right now it's perfectly legal to loan to your friend your VPP for use every single day from 9 to 6, anywhere in any ward that you live, anywhere in your ward.
But at the same time, even though it's a separate issue, we're trying to deal with VPP. I don't know, you can make, accept
So
your
can this
comments.
process absorb
Right, if you
VPP
get,
comments?
we'll make the comment there so we can,
You
they can
can,
make the
yeah,
consideration.
you can submit
Right.
them. I think that it is a separate issue, and we are always dealing with the how to make it better. And comments, we're like this far away from having yet a different system for this. One of the things that we're trying to chip away at is the MPD issued passes, which I think have caused a lot of neighborhoods real heartburn. And so we're working with MPD to clarify, just to simplify, I mean to tell you, it's, anyway.
You can find all the comments you want on the Georgetown listserv.
Oh, I know.
Aren't they
But
wonderful?
we actually got boxes
If we
of
can't
the
tackle
actual permit.
VPP commuters, then we're never gonna get to VPP stadium guests, right? We're trying to figure out where do we inject commentary on the VPP.
Right, so this is, it's a separate topic.
But isn't what she's
It's part of
saying
the
that,
rulemaking,
that,
though,
that, aren't they saying that the VPP issue actually nullifies anything you've done for the visitor, for the residential parking? Aren't they, isn't that what they're saying?
Yes, that is what she
Well,
said.
I mean, we're
If it
aiming
has
to
that
chip
big
away
of
at the,
impact, isn't it
Right.
related?
we're aiming to chip away at VPP, but it's separate from this.
But you
right,
can
so
go
I-
ahead and submit your comments. If nothing else, we have in here a definition of an annual visitor parking pass. So, I mean, it is relevant. You can submit it. As I said, we are, the DDOT annual visitor parking pass was intended as a service because there were so many people getting so peeved by MPD issued passes. Half the city thinks they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. Maybe a quarter hates it and the rest, whatever, they never use them.
We do it
And
on
coincidence.
alumni, but I don't use it, I
Like
don't
that.
use it to a friend as a computer, right?
Yeah.
I was just saying, the coincidence is that the ERPP, enhanced RPP, that was done by then council member Duval giving a visitor's parking pass as well, with the half block designated.
It was
So-
part of the
right.
ERPP that everybody would get a visitor parking pass, and I think that's why my ANC
Right.
didn't vote it in.
But
because
we're
we already
trying
have
to
it.
chip away at that overuse, abuse.
Yeah, we are.
that's
We're
something
aware of
separate.
it, but
We'll have another meeting for that one. Sure,
Yeah, that's
soon.
another topic. I think you had a question.
Yeah, first of all, a comment about standardization of times. It makes for easy policy, but I think it's a bad idea. And I'll tell you why, and it's because you have different situations and different problems in different neighborhoods, and one size doesn't fit all. You may have a problem, and you do, I think you mentioned, with people wanting to park near a metro. That's a daytime problem. But folks in Adams Morgan have a problem finding a place to park at night to get safely to their home. So one of these residential things might have a greater positive effect on a neighborhood during the daytime because it deals with commuters. And others, it's a public safety issue of people, when they come home, not having all the nighttime entertainment traffic taking their particular parking.
Right.
And because we all have different neighborhoods, we all have different issues, standardization might make things easier in terms of policy, but it might not come with the best results. Second thing, I think the program itself is doomed if it's by ward.
The RPP.
I look at, the solution that I see, I saw a number of years ago outside of Chatham College in Pittsburgh, which is where the mayor went. And there, if you park on Fair Oak Street, you have to have a sign that says Zone 99, so that the students can't take all the spots from all the neighbors who live within 2-3 blocks of the college. And that's a very special case. And we have a very similar situation down in DuPont, that we have lots of people who may live in Georgetown and may work at Steptoe or may work at some law firm a block from my house. They can't metro it down because there's not a metro to do it. They would just as soon park next to my house, next to my condo. And we have that everywhere in DuPont. Or people who will just come down there to take metro at our metro stop. If we had a micro-targeting where the people who live in that ANC or in that general neighborhood, I don't think it really solves the problem if you simply have everyone from Ward 2 being able to park everywhere in Ward 2. It's not going to help us at all.
That's a conversation to have with your council member.
I'm sorry?
That's a conversation to have with your council member.
Why does it have to be on board basis?
That's the way the law was, well, actually, that's not true. The law as originally drafted, RPP, resident parking, and we'd love to get back to it, was neighborhoods came together and said, we as a neighborhood, this zone, we need to have some additional protections.
Sure.
It was 10 years into it before these zones became ward-based. So that was the decade. Before it was just, kind of community-defined, and it became ward-based, and
Was that a council action?
yes, it was.
And that's
So
the
the
reason
council
that,
So we would need to have that
It's
change
the law,
in the
yes.
rules.
it's the law, yes.
It's got to change in DCMR.
Well, and that, it have to be a statutory change, and, for all of us who are sitting here saying, everybody wants to come to my neighborhood, there are people who pay the same or more taxes who are the ones who are coming to our neighborhoods. And they, it really does pit, communities against communities. Why can't I have access to, we've sat through, we had parking think tanks, maybe some of you came to them a couple of years ago, and we heard both sides of it.
Sure.
Regularly. But let's try to get back to these. And I understand, this is a debate, we have it constantly.
Of course.
At DDOT. It's like, why can't we just blow this up and start over again? There's reasons, and they're all sitting, and a lot of them are sitting on the city council.
Well, you and then Ellen, I think you've been
I'm not
waiting
being
for a long
critical,
time.
I'm just saying that.
So I have a question that might be a little bit, I don't know what the word is, so I'll just ask it. Elsewhere in this proposed rulemaking, there's clarifications for car sharing processes and the Zone 9 stickers that are distributed to the car sharing programs. Love car sharing. I'm a member of multiple car sharing programs, want to promote car sharing. But at the same time, I have residents in my SMD who do not like car sharing because they have the Zone 9 stickers and they can park as a resident anywhere. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how that particular aspect will be addressed within the RPP, because it's not currently, it's addressed elsewhere in the rules.
Can I just say that the only reason this is in here is because the original section said that for all of these car sharing vehicles, they would have a sticker that said they were car sharing. Our colleagues in enforcement said, and we didn't do that, we put in Zone 9, and our colleagues in enforcement have been asking us for years to clarify what a zone 9
So
sticker is.
this is just a
This is no
clarification.
change.
We
It is
didn't
just-
change it.
It has no impact on
so
anything.
Well, it
This is
does,
for enforcement.
because if you're going to count a Zone 9 sticker as being legally parked when you're doing your surveys for the RPPs, then
No,
it
we're
does
not.
matter. If
No.
you're not going to count
No,
them, it
we're
also
not.
matters.
No, I mean, it's, again, I think it's not, it will be counted
As what?
As legal.
That's actually very good question.
as, it is not it is an out of
It's
zone.
out
We
of
will
zone.
count it
It
as
is
an
an
out
out
of
of
zone,
Okay,
yeah.
so nine.
But what I mean by it doesn't make any difference is by publishing this, it is not changing what's on the street now. It will not make any change.
No, I'm not asking for that, I'm asking for clarification for the proposed rulemaking.
Again,
Okay.
those are all very good comments that you should probably also submit. Just, make sure that when you're, and again, that's an operational issue, but something we can take into account.
Something that can go into our,
Yeah, we don't want to
SOPs.
put, this is not the sort of level of detail we put in writing.
Ellen, you've been,
Yes, question, Lenny, in my SMD, as you know, we have a preponderance of embassies and embassy parking. So I'm going to assume that when you talk about one side or the other side of the street, we're excluding all of those spots for the daytime hours that are exclusive to embassy or diplomatic parking, that they are out of this completely. And so that if you have a block where you're talking about one side or the other, if you have a block where half of each side, let's say, is designated exclusive for the embassies, that leaves us to divide half and
Right.
half.
I think your neighborhood is a special case, as is all of our neighborhoods are
They all
special.
have
But
their own-
that, we each have our own special, whatever. But, no, you're right, and there's a whole lot, I think we would have to take a look in that area. Again, our operational guy here would have to figure out. But you're right, I mean, you have a lot of parking that's already out of your reach, so.
And sometimes it's increasing.
I guess right now, just cynically, you should pick that street for one of the street, one of
Right.
the 5 blocks evaluated.
one of those 5 blocks could be.
Exactly.
You got 50% there, out of zone.
Well,
Just cynical,
okay,
right.
well, we can talk. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You had a question?
Quick technical questions. In 2440.2, why is our difference between how close you can do an intersection if you're, depending on whether you're an RPP or not RPP vehicle, or am I misunderstanding that?
Which one? I'm sorry?
40.2. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding it.
Is that old Carol Schmidt says?
No, that's not Carol Schwartz, but yes, that is it's called the parking moratorium, where you can actually, if you're in zone, you can park. Where it says no parking anytime, you can park closer than the 40 feet that the sign might say.
So
But
even if
you have to have a zone
So
sticker.
the sign can say no parking, you can still park there?
Yes.
Yes.
But now we have a whole very good document on this. Go on our, by the way, all of you, I hope you use our compendium.
Does DPW know this?
Yes?
Yes.
And we actually work
We keep
with them.
reminding them.
No, you know who's the problem is MPD. I park there and I have gotten tickets and it's always MPD, it's never DPW. Because they'll come in at night. But anyway, the issue is, and we do have a very good descriptor of it, you do not want to park any closer to a stop sign. It is the approach side only. So it's like the end, if you can, normally what DPW had said was 1 car length behind the sign. Assuming that you will not go into the crosswalk. So on the DDOT, on our website and the DDOT compendium, there is a graphic. And it took us also a long time to figure out how to interpret so people could understand what the council action had done. And also that is 24/7, that is 24 hours a day. It used to be, it was only during the nighttime hours. You can also park in no parking entrance zones, but only at night. No, only at night. So anyway, yeah, I mean, there's, but not in hospitals. I mean, I tell you, this was all. At night, no parking entrance.
Everybody hates that the sign went up, even if they wouldn't have a church doesn't want the sign. So if I want to tell people they can start parking there.
Which one is this? What?
It's St. Paul AUMP and Dave Yard. Do that like in a moment of industriousness, put up the sign.
That's so unlike us.
Nobody wants the sign.
Trying to
Meeting
request.
House on Decatur, we have
Yes,
sign was moved.
has
a
that
few
not been
feet.
fixed yet?
No,
Okay.
no, the sign was moved a few feet and.
It was supposed, that one was supposed to be fixed.
So where can I find this?
What?
Where can I find this no parking?
Oh.
DDOT website,
Yeah.
go on the compendium, find the link to the compendium, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about DDOT, nicely alphabetized and
searchable?
linked.
So you
Yes.
can block a driveway?
No, no,
No,
no, no,
no
no,
parking.
no parking
You
entrance.
know, like buildings will have like the
Like a
Apartment
commercial
building.
entrance.
church or office, say no parking entrance.
Like in front of it, but it's not.
Oh, like loading zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but it's,
not
yeah,
parking.
we,
It's
it's
pick
got
up drop off
your-
area.
Yeah, I know.
But that's also, that's a temporary thing that all was done under this parking moratorium a number of years ago, yes.
I have two questions. So one, I thought the first time I read this, I saw something that I think is new about if you're on a border between two wards, anyone can park there.
Yeah, so,
See, the
Not
next-
anyone, you have to have, it usually says like 1, 2.
but it's not
One,
new.
2, that's not new.
Right, it's just operational. What we do is we create a buffer, so that residents aren't jockeying for
Right,
space.
but I know of some places where there isn't signage that says that, but that's still.
It was, over
Send it to
time,
us.
we've gotten to that standard now, I
Okay.
mean, that,
Okay.
finding places like that.
And then I guess my second question is, just subjectively, how many ANCs do you expect, given this new framework for requesting residential parking only? How many do you expect are really going to do this?
Well, first off, it's not a new framework, it is a proposed framework. If it were to be adopted, how many do we have? I think that there are certain areas that probably would, but I think that, and it's probably parts of Ward 2. I don't know why a lot of the other wards would do it. I don't think that even, that they would pass the test, but we'll see. I would guess that ANCs around Metro stops. might,
Stops,
because
8th
they-
Street.
8th Street, yeah. But we haven't done a count. I mean, we don't.
Yeah, just based on comments you get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not really, we don't, I think the idea here is we're really hoping that we get comments that either this is really a dumb idea or this is a smart way to do it. So.
I think it's a smart way to do it, but I don't want it. So that's my.
Well, there you go.
I think it's smart.
That's a good
It's
comment.
good for
Let
other
us
people.
know.
Yeah.
And that's fine, you don't have to do it. Yes, ma'am.
It's a smart way to an extent, because it has to be generated by a whole ANC,
Yes.
not an individual. A whole ANC parking issue varies.
Right.
It varies a lot, because like the ANC next to me is a residential area. My ANC is a mix.
Right.
I have schools, I have the subway, I have stores, and they don't have it. We're getting, it's like you said, any ward sticker can park.
Mhm.
Their friends that lives on those blocks and they have company, they'll let their company park in their spots, and they'll drive their car over to mine,
Right.
which eliminates,
Right.
which, really knocks off the parking in my area.
Right.
Mhm.
So, like I said, this is smart to an extent, and it shouldn't be whole ANCs. It should be individualized.
So
So
single
you're-
member districts,
Correct.
SM.
Oh, it should be smaller SMD, or it should still be block by block? I'm not sure. Well, please write send us something that tells us what you're
More
proposing.
SMD.
SMD.
Yeah, let us know.
Like I
Submit
said,
your
my
comments.
sister, she has nothing over there, but just condos, homes. Me, I have
I think what
Rhode
we're
Island subway
really,
station.
you have
church,
ANC meetings though, right?
yeah.
When you meet, I think what we're really hoping for is to have the discussion at an ANC level where you and your colleagues can discuss it. And it could be that, you are the only one that wants it. And, if the comments that we get, and then, even in analyzing the, even further down if we get to this, then maybe we will need to do it by a single member district. But it's hard for us to know now And what we found, that if we did it in a single-member district, you're just pushing the problem to somebody else. You're not necessarily fixing it.
Well, but the same thing could happen ANC by
Sure, yeah.
ANC.
Right.
Like,
We're
if you
simply
dump
saying
people
in Ward
across
1.
15th Street.
Right. It did
But
not
it's
happen in
broader.
Ward 1, strangely enough. It was not in Ward 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I have a question about when you can have RPP in front of a recreation center. This is in like 2435.5 and 2437.3. My question is, here's the context. We have this brand new community center that is open only in the certificate of occupancy way. There's nothing else there. And I was trying to make the case, again, like, please leave an RPP because until this thing is operational. And are you, again, we have.
Yes.
Okay. So
You
if,
see me smiling?
I was like, me too. So if the word community center was inserted here, would that give us more flexibility?
Could you, so what section are you,
So in 2434.5
2434?
or 2437.3, as I understand it, it says may be allowed to have RPP in front of a recreation center.
This is one that a petition is not necessary and the director at their discretion,
Right.
if you look at the beginning of it.
Well, what, we did not change this. This is not a new,
No, this is not a new
It
one.
was in the 17-page document, that's how I came across it. So maybe it's not new, but it was in the documents that you put out.
So generally, what you have to do is have the residents petition to be brought in.
That would not be
If,
wrong.
well, no, if that part of the block has no residents, say it's the side of a recreation center, that's what this is intended to get at. So you have residents and you have a side of a recreation center that maybe opens up, and there's other available parking for the recreation center. We have, in fact, in some cases, expanded RPP to the side of a facility because a lot of the rec centers are huge and they take up a very big footprint. And so by not having RPP, it's really restricting the residential.
Right, so we had the reverse version of that conversation a few weeks ago, so I'm not
Can we
trying to.
talk
like-
offline?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
really not a forum for the specific
That's
issues.
fine.
It's really this, but yes, no, I think you've been.
I've got a question for Evan. I don't really understand the survey approach. I think I get what you're trying to get at. It seems pretty easy to rig the system.